today the topic of discussion is the Apical Toolkit. And the Apical Toolkit is a little bit probably different than what a lot of our customer base really thinks when they view us and what we're capable of and what we do for people. But what a lot of people don't know is realistically, Apical was founded as a crop advising service, right? So a regenerative crop advising service, and that was our foundation long before we did any laboratory analysis. And furthermore, we were actually into organic crop input sales and formulations before we started the lab as well. So, but along those lines, what a lot of folks that know us and have worked with us for a bunch of years actually do know is that the laboratory was developed out of, dissatisfaction with just overall performance of regenerative agriculture systems. And so, why was that? So, just poor crop performance on certain crops and soil environments, inconsistencies, unintended consequences, things that didn't make sense, and so on and so forth. And, as many people have heard me talk about before, we do really understand that, the SAP analysis is a pivotal tool. And I kind of figured that out about 10 years ago and took those steps to, kind of bring it to, into the forefront of, at least for our growers, and make it a piece to their puzzle. So anyway, but today I really want to go through a little bit about how to integrate crop analysis, soil analysis, alongside crop inputs and do it in a regenerative way. A lot of folks out there are, probably have taken a tissue analysis or taken a soil analysis or, this thing or that thing over the years. And, you get a recommendation or what have you. But nowadays there's new types of inputs and the game is starting to change. And there's a lot of different ways that, you can unpack regenerative agriculture systems. And so those opportunities now are a little bit, they're somewhat scattered. There's different types of crop inputs all over the map. And we'll look at a bunch of different ones throughout the webinar today. But ultimately, the interest of each grower is going to be different, and everyone's going to have a different crop, soil type, different goals, certification or otherwise that they want to achieve. But that said, we came up with what we feel is a relatively decent framework for the leap in soil analysis. But a lot of people, they might understand, okay, yeah, we can apply some micronutrients from a SAP test, or we can, figure out some bulk applications or pH adjustments from a soil analysis. But, how do you get into using some of the more nuanced crop inputs and why, right? And what does that look like? And what's the data that drives those sorts of input making or input decisions, right? So anyway, yeah, so I titled this the Apical Toolkit because, personally as a crop advisor and crop consultant, I work closely with growers of all shapes and sizes, and we work across all kinds of different crops. I travel fairly frequently to go visit cropping environments outside of this area, some abroad, and I get to see, some really interesting, nuances and differences and how people like to approach cultivation methods and, what works for some people and what works for others. I spent a lot of time in Florida looking at different farms down there and working with growers down in that region. And in California, I get down there fairly frequently, and up to Washington. And, it's just, the list goes on. And as I see, similar themes and difficulties that growers and crop advisors have, oftentimes, they don't know quite how to get their way out of it. Right. And so let's take some really good analysis. Let's start to dig under the hood of what we can find, what we know to be true, and then see if we can piece together throughout the webinar today some different options for you guys to access a more regenerative toolkit that, in an intelligent way, measured way, so that you're not just, going out and applying something that doesn't make sense for your cropping system that may cause, unwanted effects, even though it might be a natural product. That's, one last caveat. That's one of the things I've seen over the years, is a lot of different environments of growing. So, what does that mean? So conventional growing environments, growers that are organic, growers that want to be organic, that are conventional, growers that are halfway, a third of the way, 2/3 of the way, or, or much further, right? I've worked very closely with farmers that have required almost no inputs on their farm because they've figured out regenerative grazing strategies and, animal rotations or extremely effective composting methods or living mulches and so on and so forth. There's a lot of different ways that folks can approach fertilization. And I would say before we jump in here, always go back to what we're trying to do, right? We're not trying to put out 60 units of N. We're trying to grow good crop. And in a lot of cases, as you'll see, in some of the further webinars like next week and so on, there's oftentimes when nitrogen is applied or fertilizer is applied, it doesn't mean it makes it to the crop, right? And so if it doesn't make it to the crop, you're spending money that, it may be better reallocated. So anyway, we're always trying to grow the crop. We're not trying to adhere to a script. We're trying to do the right thing to get the right outcome and using data to do so. Carbon is king. Thanks again very much, and look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care.